Joel Rubin joins us now live via Skype from Chevy Chase in Maryland. He's a former United States Deputy Assistant Secretary of State and the President of Washington Strategy Group. Good to have you with us, Joel. The New York Times review of Bolton's book makes it sound somewhat dull and pompous. But what do you make of the revelations that in the extracts that newspapers have published?
Well, these revelations are damning, and it clearly shows that President Trump sold us out for his own personal political gain. He made requests of China, for example, about their requesting that they interfere in our democratic elections to help him win in order for him to essentially stay in the presidency. Asking for a foreign power to help one be the American president is deeply problematic, and it is why he got impeached. So these are damning revelations. They're not surprising for those of us who have been arguing for years that Donald Trump is corrupting the presidency. And it is disappointing that John Bolton is only putting these out in the book now rather than having taken a principled stand when he could have done something about it. But nonetheless, these are very damaging to President Trump.
U.S. Trade Representative Robert Lighthizer says Bolton's claim that Trump asked President Xi for help with re-election, that it never happened. Of the many things that Bolton is known for, exaggeration and fabrication, he is not. So who's right?
Well, clearly, Robert Lighthizer, because he's on the inside of the administration, is again trying to protect the president. And that's what the president's men do. And that's what we've seen them do throughout his presidency. When they leave, suddenly they find courage, like General Mattis finding courage to speak out about Donald Trump's failure to address racism in this country and worse. So it's a real problem to see this administration continually deny that the president is engaged in illegal behavior with foreign governments to help him win politically. And where there's smoke, there's fire. So Lighthizer's argument, it really doesn't stand much chance. And John Bolton's got the records, I think, to prove it.
You alluded to it a moment or two ago about Bolton's motivation here. Why put all this in a book after refusing to testify at the impeachment hearings?
Yeah, that's what's very frustrating for those of us who have been expressing concern for a number of years, and for House Democrats who he attacked in his book as well, said they didn't do a good enough job on impeachment when he himself failed to testify, refused to testify to Congress like many valiant civil servants did, and risked their careers in doing so. So clearly he's in it for himself. He could have resigned in protest. He could have been a whistleblower. He could have gone public with his concerns, but he was happy to have the president do what he was doing as long as Bolton had favor in the president's eyes. The real break for John Bolton was he wanted to go to war with Iran, and President Trump didn't, and they had an argument and a falling out. So John Bolton didn't quit out of principle. He quit out of a policy obsession that he had. And so he really doesn't look good. He doesn't look like a patriot right now.
The White House fighting to prevent the publication of this book, as we said. But a lot of Washington insiders, as you say, the contents come as no surprise to them. Does it have the potential, though, to damage the president's re-election hopes?
Yeah, Adrian, I think it really does, because it just adds more layers of explanation about how Donald Trump has corrupted the office of the president of the United States, down to the point where he is publicly saying he wants to be tough on China, but then privately soliciting, nearly begging them to help him win re-election. It doesn't look good. This is not the kind of expose that a president who says he needs to be trusted for 4 more years wants, especially not one who, when he looks at the American public already losing confidence in him, to see all of his top aides and advisors telling their side of the story, he has to explain why he didn't do what Bolton says he did, and it's not a good frame for him. But the American people, the danger here is that they're so overwhelmed by scandal that the danger here is that this just becomes one more drop in the bucket rather than the real earth-shattering amount of information that it is.
Really good to talk to you, Joel. Many thanks indeed. Joel